You're listening to Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong, all on Georgia Radio Network.
Welcome to episode 99 of the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast. I'm Dave Roberts. With me is my podcast partner in crime, writer, journalist, and TV personality, Jessica Szilagyi.
Hey, Dave.
How's your week?
Week's been crazy and, disorganized, but nothing terrible.
Slippery.
Yeah.
Were you at the Parkers when you slipped out of your truck?
Yes. So I tried to use the running board to get into my car, which I usually don't do because this has happened before. In tennis shoes, unless I'm wearing Timberlands or something, the running boards on the side of my SUV are slick as hell. And so I started the gas, and a box truck full of men of different varieties pulled up. And I was wearing a dress. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to step up to get into the car so that I don't have, an inappropriate moment here. And my foot slipped. And I don't know how to describe it other than it felt like I was trying to walk on Vaseline. I just went down, and if I hadn't been below empty, I would have just gotten in the car and gone to another gas station because my ego was just destroyed. But
a box truck full of men of different flavors, huh?
I said different varieties.
Life is like a box of men.
God, you're terrible. Anyway, yes, I'm Thank you.
I pictured heels.
I was wearing
tennis
heels.
Shoes, no. with real tread on the bottom, slipped. Wow.
That happened at Christmas when they were when it had been raining. But my heels, that's what I was wearing when I fell out of the car. But yeah, and it was loud. It's just, there's a surveillance camera somewhere where someone's going to enjoy going through the footage later tonight.
What color are your running boards?
Black.
Go to Home Depot and go to the paint section. Get you some safety tape that they put on stairs for old people. And it's black. And you peel it back. Well, I use it for my dog on her ramp. I have a handicap ramp for my dog to get in the house. So she couldn't grab onto the boards. So I put traction tape on it. It's safety tape for stairs and stuff, but you could probably put a little of that on there and no one would see it. The old Home Depot truck upgrade.
Okay. Thanks.
You're like, I'm not going to do that.
No, I'm just not going to use the running boards. When do they become not a safety thing? When do they become a design thing?
I'm putting step rails in my truck, and that's exactly what they're for, is to step. So, as entertaining as that must have been, not quite as much as you yanking down the curtain rod going after a roach.
Huh.
Your pain is hilarious.
Thank you.
Speaking of hilarious, California to end climate change by banning garden equipment. State air regulators are laying long-term plans to phase out gasoline-powered devices like leaf blowers and lawnmowers, saying they can produce more noxious emissions than cars.
This is one of those things where you see the headline and you're like, no, this isn't what I think it is, right?
Right.
But it is.
Apparently a lot of the people in the Bay Area are already doing this. At least 8 cities have banned gas-powered blowers and more restrict the use of their times of the day or up to a certain noise level. The quote we got here is, "What I think we need to realize is that we have to do something different for climate change in this world," said Novato Mayor Pro Tem Pat Eklund, who proposed a ban on gas lawn mowers and leaf blowers in December, if we're not going to see a different world than we do today, every little bit is going to help. You know, getting your lawn done is about to get real expensive in California.
Yeah, among everything else, but...
You're going to need a crew of like 50, 25 on their hands and knees with scissors, and another 25 behind them getting the clippings but going... How in the world would you keep electric stuff charged up that long?
Well, not to mention you're going to drive up the cost of that equipment too, because electric versus gas equipment isn't as powerful. I mean, I bought an edger, and it was the one that I wanted was one that came with like a bonus leaf blower, and it was electric, and it's just some rinky dink one that is battery powered, but it sucks. Like, it doesn't have any oomph behind it.
No, you know what? It's fine for a homeowner who's on a 1/4-acre lot. If you just need an electric blower to blow off your back deck or something like that. But when your job is landscaping, you need to get there, do your job, and get done as professionally and as quickly as possible. There's the only way to make money. So if you can do 10 lawns in a day, and the crew is doing them for $50 a lawn, it's $500. Well, if you can only get 3 done in a day, that price is going to go up because your operating cost doesn't go down. Not to mention, everything that's in those batteries are really, really, really bad for the environment.
I was going to say, when you're talking about like decomposition and everything, you're really going to get into trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it's absurd. California is becoming just a social experiment. Yeah, San Francisco, the Bay Area, it's already a bungalow already costs you $1 million. Food's incredibly expensive. Labor's incredibly expensive, and now you can't even get your lawn done. Jose Baca, who owns Vaca Construction and Landscaping, which has locations in Novato and Petaluma, said he would have to buy up to 5 batteries costing an average of $100 to $200 each to finish jobs on large properties like homeowner associations or shopping centers. Electric leaf blowers would make tasks longer and more expensive, he said. Well, he agrees with you.
Well, obviously.
No, but which makes him right. We would just start canceling more contracts and moving up north, he said. And that makes sense. Is if Dallas made it so expensive for me to operate Dr. Cool, I'm going to go somewhere else.
Right.
Especially in an unlicensed business like landscaping. Just pick up and move, man.
The sheer number of problems that government officials in California have been able to identify, and I use the word numbers in quotes, is just astounding. I mean, it really is remarkable. This has never crossed my mind.
This was somebody who had a little bit of a hangover and had to listen to the people next door get their lawn cut at 7 o'clock in the morning. They weren't happy about it. And decided that they're gonna change the world, because that's, even quoting the article, is they're talking about the noise. And if you want to have noise restrictions, that's one thing. I mean, say you can't operate that equipment before, I don't know, I hate to say before 7 a.m. or before 8 a.m. because for a lot of places that are warm, these guys work first thing in the morning because the afternoon is hot.
Sure.
I mean, deadly when you're working outside, you're sweating gallons of water. And think about all the water they have to consume just to make up for what they sweat, and depleting the fresh water reserves just by everything they have to drink by working the afternoon. I mean, what's wrong with these people?
I got nothing.
You know, my belief on water is you can neither create it nor destroy it.
Sure.
We don't actually use water. We borrow it and put it back into the environment.
That's right.
So, lime sours on Atlanta. What a witty turn of phrase. Neutron Holdings, Inc., which does business...
George Chidi always delivers on the witty titles.
Neutron Holdings, Inc., which does business under the name Lime, is withdrawing its scooters from the Atlanta market, among others. Lime's withdrawal comes in the name of pursuit of profitability. Oh my God, profit. The firm's CEO, Brad Baio, said, while the vast majority of our 120 markets have adopted micromobility transportation solutions quickly and profitable, solutions quickly profitable, there are select communities throughout the world where micromobility has evolved more slowly. For this reason, we have made the difficult decision to close 12 markets across the globe at this time. So,
obviously, like, anyone with a brain saw this coming.
Oh, sure. I mean, Atlanta's been trying to crack down on these things for a while. All these big cities would love to see ride shares go away. I would really like to see what Josh Rowan has to say about it. And I know Josh. Josh is a good dude. I've known him several years from the chamber out here. He's the new Atlanta Department of Transportation head. About moving people around the city and doing away with these scooters, and the scooters pulling out of the market because we're unfriendly, and where the city is on that. And if I was really good at my job, I would have called him beforehand.
Well, am I supposed to respond and say, "Oh, but you are good at your job. You just let this slip through the cracks"?
Let it slip through the cracks.
You know, between the hour and a half before the show that we put this on the outline, and
I give the show way more professionalism than I make out of it.
It's so funny.
You know, the scooter thing, the idea I thought was to keep cars off the streets. So if someone could grab a scooter and swipe their card and zip down a couple blocks instead of hailing a cab, instead of getting in their car or something else, and a private company doing this and making a couple bucks, I don't see the problem.
No, and it's supposed to be cost effective. They call it last mile connectivity solution. Like, what's interesting is that, and we've talked about it, and it's not really all that lovely in terms of the bill itself, but the transportation bill that they were talking about passing in the last legislative session actually involved incentivizing companies to put this type of stuff, not just the scooters, but the bikes and other options that they have available too, forward to incentivize the private companies to go to more cities, especially in rural communities, to provide this, whatever it is, or whatever you want to call it. But so the state is going an opposite direction of what the cities are doing.
Yeah, Atlanta issued a temporary ban on new scooter permits in August and banned scooter use after 9 p.m. after a spat of deaths mid-year. And I would like to know how many that was. Because people die jogging through Piedmont Park.
Sure. I mean, it wasn't that many. I think it was under 10. Yeah,
and again, these weren't scooters blowing up on people. They're individuals who make poor decisions. How many people die in the city riding bicycles every year? When little Johnny Spandex gets hit by a car because he's taking up too much of the road, it's the driver's fault.
Spandex. That's terrible.
But, that it's the driver's fault. So we don't track that. We don't say, well, we're going to ban the use of bicycles after 9 p.m. These municipalities have always been after these micro companies because of their lack of control and their inability to tax.
Well, the inability to tax is the huge thing, especially when you consider the way that they went after Uber and Lyft for the rideshare and for the for all of that, because of how it impacted the taxi medallions and the revenue from the taxis. So I think when they saw this type of stuff after what happened with Uber and how even though they started to regulate Uber and Lyft and whatnot, that the revenue that they generated from them was substantially less than what they got from taxi companies. So this, they just kind of capitalized on and said, no, we're not even going to allow it at all.
What do you want to bet the city comes out with some sort of solution to this?
Oh, you mean like a streetcar?
Yep. That nobody rides?
Right.
Or they come out with their own scooter, call it the Atlanta Connect. And that they keep the money for it. I don't know, man. It is glaring when you see a CEO of a corporation go, look, it's not profitable. Screw Atlanta. We're out.
Serves them right.
We out this biatch.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like how many attacks are companies like that supposed to take before they do just close up shop and leave?
Yeah, I mean, no, you're absolutely right. In my witticisms aside, yeah, it's why am I going to continue to lose money to serve a market where the government is completely inappreciative and uncooperative?
Right. Where they're actively working to hurt my business. Like, no, we have on this show repeatedly talked about instances where we think the local and county and state governments go way too far in propping up businesses, but the idea is to do no harm either direction. Don't hurt competing businesses, don't hurt innovative businesses. Just leave everybody alone and let them thrive. Let the market decide if this is something that should be in the city of Atlanta. Don't push them out.
Right. And you can't point to the scooter company as the reason for any of the deaths. Right. Somebody made a poor decision. If they'd rented a car, went down to Avis Rental and ran somebody over, we wouldn't go shut Avis down. Of course, Avis pays the city. So, I don't know. By the way, these are our opinions and not necessarily those of All on Georgia, and certainly not those of any All on Georgia reporter not offering commentary on this show.
There you go.
Can we get some All on Georgia reporters to offer commentary on the show?
Can we what?
Get some All on Georgia reporters to offer commentary?
Sure.
We'll get a couple. Eric. So we alluded to this last week with the closing thought. It was really too long of a thought for you to get to, and it is Mayor Van Johnson.
Savannah. People don't know. So I guess it's been almost 2 weeks. By the time the show is dropping, it's been almost 2 weeks since the news of this broke. But basically, Van Johnson was a city councilman or city alderman, how they call them in Savannah. He was elected mayor. He and I think 2 or 3 new other people were supposed to be sworn in on January 2nd for a ceremony for their new positions. And Van Johnson went ahead and had a surprise ceremony on January 1st at a church, no less, which is hilarious to me, but whatever. He had a surprise ceremony that he had invited people to attend with him without all the other elected officials. And I guess he didn't really provide a reason other than they later tried to say that he was just trying to be transparent by having his own ceremony in the public ahead of time. But anybody with a half of a brain can see that he just wanted to have all the attention on him and have his swearing in be even more publicized, I guess you could say. But
he's a jackass.
He totally is. And, I blasted him on Facebook about it. And his campaign consultant chimed in and had a whole lot to say.
And then it got ugly.
It did.
Because you happened to share the show with an a-hole. He even was PMing me.
Really?
Because I can destroy you on the show. He's like, you can't destroy what you did not build. Like, I'm pretty sure you can.
You didn't
Ask
tell
any
me
bully
this.
who's ever kicked over a sandcastle on the beach. I'm pretty sure you can, Van.
This was this time or the last time?
I think it was this time.
Really? Tell us more.
He doesn't like me. Well, I kind of went after him on the gun thing also because he wanted to create their own gun laws in Savannah, which if we probably discussed on the show, state has preemption on that. But he thought it'd be a good idea to go ahead and pass gun regulations in Savannah. I mean, he's a piece of work. He's better than you, and he knows it. Right, and his approach is, if you don't agree with me, I'm going to block you. And so my attacks on him, so to speak, as they were referred to, were that he, as a councilman, he was promoting issues that were way outside the purview of local government. I mean, you just mentioned the gun bill one, but he was always, I mean, we've talked about decriminalization of marijuana on a city basis and things like that. And my argument has been that it creates problems from the perspective, like, sure, we like that cities do that. They're not throwing people in jail for it, or they're just assessing civil penalties or whatever the case may be. But it does create problems when you look at, county law enforcement in the city, or GBI, or state law enforcement, or anybody else other than the city that you're decriminalizing, other than those law enforcement particularly. Well, the reason that's a bigger deal in Savannah is because they've had consolidation of the police department, and then not consolidation. They have Chatham County Sheriff's Office, Chatham County Police, Savannah Police. Like, it's just this. So I didn't support it. Anyway, I articulated all these things to his campaign consultant, and Van just told me to come by and see Savannah because I made some comment about how I didn't want to get shot. But his campaign consultant would just annihilate anybody who said that they disagreed with Van Johnson ideologically, which is like the worst thing ever. If you're going to be a jerk, if we'd all started off name calling or just talking about, I don't know, his race or something, I could totally understand coming back. But if somebody's telling you their ideological beliefs and why they don't support a policy, you have I think you have an obligation, if you're a reasonable adult and if you're an elected official, to respect that they have a different ideology. Oh, yeah. I told him to go fornicate himself and his anti-Second Amendment policies. Sure, as I'm reading you chimed in after like an hour of nonsense, so yeah. It's not like... Well, he said, just so you know, all new Savannah mayors are sworn in before the new council to ensure continuity of the government in between the end of the year and the new council meetings being sworn in. There's a legal requirement that the mayor of Savannah is sworn in on the first day of the year. Okay. This is his quote. Then why was it a surprise? I mean, why did it come out of nowhere? Right. I mean, it should have been in the paper. Hey, if you want to come see Mayor Dipstick sworn in, show up on New Year's Day at 7:30 in the morning. No, it's asinine. That's not a requirement in the cities in Georgia. The new mayor of Hiram was sworn in along with the city council members. Being sworn in before the council, all that means is up first is our mayor elect. Do you? I do. Sit down. City council. And then you swear him in and it's done. It's asinine. He is absolutely asinine. Savannah, you're in for a hell of a 4 years. Oh, it's gonna be a mess. Do you have a position open for All on George and Savannah? Yeah, I just don't think anyone has enough Kevlar. Yeah, well, that, and he does have his own private police force. I'd find my ass in jail. I should alert him next time I'm going to Savannah which hotel I'm going to stay in to see if the police show up. 'Cause I like Savannah. I mean, I like hanging out in the historic. Is it Elizabeth's on? Elizabeth's great restaurant down there. Always has a fresh menu. It's a great place. Stay in the historic district. It's a great place to hang out. It's a wonderful, beautiful city that's being ruined by asshats like Van Johnson. I mean, that thread got epic. And
it did. It had 369 comments in like a couple hours, which is why it was so funny. But
even the gif of the "look at me, I am the captain now."
Yeah. I think that one was pretty early on.
It was pretty early
amazing.
On.
So everyone got to see it. But
yeah, that one got late in the evening and deep into a bottle of bourbon.
Yes.
Yeah, it was epic. I feel sorry for the good citizens of Savannah. You guys are going to start paying through the nose for this dude. And he is thin-skinned. Man, he's thin-skinned. Mm-hmm. And he was blocking people. I believe that's...
Not supposed to do that on your Mayor Van Johnson page.
Even so much as on your personal page if you discuss politics. Not right. If you're an elected official and you discuss upcoming legislation and put things out for discussion on your personal page. Now, from what I understand, if you have your campaign page, Dave Roberts, Congressman Dave Roberts' page, and then I share it to my personal page, that's still personal. And I can block anybody I want to on my personal page. But as long as no one's being abusive on the official congressional page, you can't just block somebody for saying, I don't like your stance on whatever.
Right.
And I'm actually going to meet with a candidate for Congress in the 14th. Supposed to in a couple days, and have lunch with him. And he started getting real thin-skinned. I'm like, hey man, you gotta dial that down. If you're gonna hop into politics, people gonna call you things, and you just have to roll with it. But it is funny watching thin-skinned people just lose their minds.
Yeah, I do enjoy that. I mean,
that brings the troll in all of us.
Sure. I mean, it got bad at the end. Like, everyone was calling names and yelling and like being as disrespectful as possible because he was, yeah.
And you know what? You can, because he's an elected official, and this is the United States.
This is true.
So we're allowed to call our elected officials asshats. I just need to stay out of Savannah the next 4 years. Spend my long weekend sitting in a cell. Go down for a holiday weekend, get locked up. I can't see a judge until Tuesday morning.
Good luck. Hope you enjoy the meals.
What you say was, good luck, don't call me.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some pre-filed legislation on the Senate side. We kind of got to the House last week. And this is going to be a theme here. SB 280. Donzella James. Banning a...
Donzella is the one who proposed the trucking bill. So I just want to, keep that in mind when you hear her ideas. She wanted to make sure that trucks couldn't be on the road unless they were actively making a delivery.
She's the one that thought guys were rolling around in their big rigs, rolling with the windows down, chilling in Buckhead, and just, running the grocery store in them. A bill to be enacted to amend Chapter 8, Title 12 of the Official Code of Georgia, related to waste management, so as to prohibit the distribution of certain bags made of plastic film by certain retail establishments, to provide for definitions, to provide for related manners, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Shouldn't like your plastic bag.
All right. I mean, what do you want me to say?
I mean, can you see the underground for plastic bags? Like, psst, psst.
I hope I'm a part of it.
Yeah. I'm holding 2 Kroger bags, a Publix, and 3 Walmart. What you need?
You know that, hold on. At Phillips, well, it's now State Farm Arena, but my mom and I, when we went to the Backstreet Boys concert, we got drinks and they don't allow you to have, we took a bottle of water as well. They don't allow you to have the lid on your water, right? Because then you could throw the bottle and it could be a weapon. And if you throw it with the lid off, I guess they hope enough will spill on the way up. I don't know. But my mom and I were complaining. We got our water at the food counter and then went over to the alcohol counter. We were complaining to the lady where we were getting our drinks about the fact that we weren't allowed to have a lid on our water. And she's like, hold on. And she like snuck us each a lid wrapped in a napkin across the bar. It was totally like what you're talking. That's exactly how it will be.
I can't imagine a riot at a Backstreet Boys concert.
No. Those are all girls who used to like have no.
And guys with matching belts and shoes.
Or unlucky husbands who drew the short straw.
Oh, man.
I think we talked about it, but there were some guys there that were just dancing along. Everybody knows the songs when they come. Like, you heard it. They were playing around the clock on our radios for a decade.
But how well could a single 30-something straight dude do in that place? Talk about target-rich environment.
That's right. Oh my gosh!
I got some really good gear out in my car.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny.
SB 281 by guess who? Donzella James. Banning some types of guns. It is funny to me that she got to the plastic bags before the guns.
Priorities.
I mean, that means that the plastic bag is more dangerous than the firearm.
I'm going to start toting my weapon in a plastic bag.
Take an AR, put your gallon of milk on it, and just carry it out so the plastic bags were banned.
Exactly. This one's actually kind of scary, though, because of, one, it's always scary when the Democrats just draft gun bills because it shows their total lack of understanding for weapons in general.
This shall be known and cited as the Georgia Firearms and Weapons Act. So, automatic or semi-automatic guns means any weapon which shoots or is designed to shoot automatically more than 6 shots without manually reloading by a single function of the trigger or without any action needed to fire consecutive shots other than having ammunition loaded, such weapons feeding device. Without manually reloading. 6 shots without manually reloading means you can't have your magazine limit would be 6. Manually reloading. That's not pulling a trigger. It's manually reloading. Because it's or. It's not and or. Any action to fire consecutive shots other than having ammunition loaded in such weapons feeding device. Again, magazine limit. Large capacity magazines means any ammunition feeding device with the capacity to accept more than 10 rounds of ammunition, provided, however, that such term shall not include feeding device has been permanently altered so that it cannot accommodate more than 10 rounds, a 22 caliber tube ammunition feeding device, or a tubular magazine that's connected to a lever action firearm. She has no idea what she's talking about.
You don't say.
But she did put, as you read the bill, underlines the change. No person shall have in his, and she added, or her. So want to make sure we put that in there. Way to go, ladies. You're included in the gun bans now. Automatic or semi-automatic, large capacity magazine, or silencer accepted. So the way this is written, it is automatic or semi-automatic gun. there's a bunch of contradictions in the way this bill is written. I know you don't say, right?
Right.
Again, they cross out machine gun and put automatic or semi-automatic gun in several places in here. This is a semi-automatic firearm ban. And since it uses the word gun, it doesn't use rifle or anything else. This applies to all of it. Anything that goes bang, the semi-automatic. The way this is written. She's an idiot. This has been Dave's opinion, and not necessarily those of Jessica Szilagyi.
That's exactly right. Lord. It's freaking terrible.
She's never going to hear this.
Let's hope not. Because you're going to get sued.
For what? She's going to call Chris Severe and go after me?
Get in line, Donzella. No, like you said, there's a lot of contradictions. So you're not only dealing with that, but you're also talking about somebody who's just like, I would imagine that this bill goes farther than she actually intended it to. Like, she wouldn't be upset if she found out that it did, but I think she had something in mind. And then because of her lack of understanding, like, Legislative Council doesn't do anything except draft a bill the way that you say. They don't do any additional research. They don't find out if it conflicts with anything. They don't even tell you if it's constitutional or not, because the legislature doesn't care. But, you know, they don't give you any legal advice. They just do what you ask, or draft it as you desire. So I think this goes beyond what she was even trying to do, which is frightening.
So she's babbling, and somebody had a pen and they were writing it down, and they just put it in there and handed it to her, and she said, okay. Is that how it works? That's what it sounds like. I mean, it doesn't. This is obviously not written by anybody that has any grasp of firearms or law or the English language. I mean, it's rambling nonsense, and it's, again, this is her feeding to her base. The folks on the right, I saw this pop up on my Facebook feed a couple weeks ago, and just started blowing up with, "Oh my God, we're gonna be Virginia! Oh my God, get ready to boogaloo!" I'm like, easy. This has about the same. This has snowball's chance on Satan's front doorstep. Okay.
Right. Now, if Stacey Abrams was governor, it might be a little bit different.
Even then, there are a lot of pro-gun Democrats. Now, it may start with this and end up with some sort of quote unquote compromise if we went blue. There's no way. We've got too many good old boy Democrats like John Barrow.
Yeah, but he's not elected.
Well, I understand, but I'm saying there's a lot of people like him that are socially liberal, but are good old boy shotgun toting guys who, hell, I know liberals at my gun club who are socially liberal but are big time gun collectors. This is one of those things that crosses over the line. This is more a cultural thing, and being in the South, this is her playing to her base in her little Senate district to get reelected. To see, look what I'm trying to do for you is save your life.
On what you just brought up, though, so about the moderate or possibly pro-gun, or at least not anti-gun Democrats, do you think that it's becoming less and less popular to hold that position in the Democrat Party, though?
Sure it is.
That's always my fear, is that is I know you're correct. I mean, Stacey Evans, who ran for governor, was not, and I said Evans, not Abrams, but she was not as far left as she campaigned, or I guess in her mind had to campaign when she ran against Stacey Abrams when she was in the Georgia legislature. And I think there's a lot of them who will fall in line just because much like we see with the Republicans, their party said so.
Well, the Republican Party has also shifted left on that issue. We went from all gun laws are unconstitutional to no one needs a machine gun to, honestly, Reagan stumping for the Brady bill, then bump stock ban and things like that. So it seems like politics is shifting that way on the gun issue, mostly because of, honestly, media propaganda on the issue. We had one guy who used a slide stock, therefore we need to ban them. This, again, ban them without passing a law. violating post facto. This was a company that was given permission to produce this accessory, and people got a letter from the ATF saying they were allowed to have it, and they said, just kidding. So I think the whole thing is shifting that way. But yeah, I think the moderates are being run out of the Democratic Party. I think there's going to be a split in the Libertarian Party, where you're going to take the Libertarian Demitarians and the Republicans start splitting off from each other. And I think you're going to start seeing a new grassroots movement within these two parties. The Demitarians believe in equal, believing what really the right should be, which is not only do you have the freedom of speech, everything else that the ACLU would back you up on, but ACLU should also be backing you on gun rights. Right. I think the moderate Democrats are being pushed out, but I don't think the Stacey Abrams thing was as much a policy as much as it was a cult of personality. Her policy positions to me weren't what got her as far as she did. It was identity politics and a cult of personality. And look, she's a very likable person.
She is. She's one-on-one. She is. I mean, I really like her. I think I talked about that after.
Yeah, after you did your interview with her, and you asked me, do you think she's the devil incarnate? No, she's wrong, but she seems very nice, very well educated, and puts her wrong point of view out very eloquently, and makes a very good case for her side in the debate, which is great. That's exactly what we should be doing in political debate instead of what we see going on in the national stage. But, I'm getting off on a tangent on that. But no, back to your original question, you're right. I do see the moderates being pushed out of the Democratic Party, where you're not left enough. We're seeing that on the national stage, where a lot of the guys who are very reasonable are totally marginalized in the Democratic primary right now. Why you don't see Andrew Yang getting anywhere? Because he's a very reasonable guy. So is Pete Buttigieg, very reasonable guy. I don't agree with their positions on most things, but they're reasonable.
Yeah.
So now they've been on both sides of that issue. 282, Senator Brandon Beach. 90% of early action in state universities must be in-state students. Bill to be enacted. As to provide that designated research universities shall ensure that at least 90% of early action admissions are offered to Georgia resident students, to provide for a definition, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, blah, blah, blah. So this is saying research universities in the state of Georgia should not be looking for the best and the brightest worldwide to bring into their facility.
I can't imagine the universities would be in favor of this.
Neither can I. I mean, they make so much more money on out-of-state tuition.
Yeah.
I mean, man, I don't know. Leave them alone. I don't know what makes government think that they need to continue to muck around with education. Especially if we talk about research. Do I want the best of Georgia researching cancer or whatever else they're at Emory? No, I want the best in the world. Whether that students come from China, from India, from Indiana, or Alaska. They say the spots for your program here is limited to 10% of early enrollees is not productive to a diverse learning culture. It's also not productive to researching using people's different points of view. 90% of your class is going to have a similar social experience from within the state of Georgia.
And it's just the early action, but that's just, first of all, the problem, I mean, not the problem. I guess this, I'm not, I don't want to say this with certainty, but I would imagine that if you're going to go out of state for school, you need to know earlier than later. Like, you don't need to be finding out in April that you're going to be going out of state.
Right. Even for, especially when you start talking about international students, but if you're coming from Oregon and you apply to University of Georgia, you may be already moving your stuff into Oregon State. Then you find out, oh, by the way, you got into UGA, which is where you really wanted to go to begin with, because they have the program study that specializes in what you want to do. It's probably going to be more likely Georgia Tech, Emory, some of our more research aimed universities where students around the world come to Georgia Tech, because they produce short lists of the best engineers in the world. You got Georgia Tech, MIT, and a few others around the country that all kind of share that designation of being the top of their field. And to say we're gonna hold out 90% of early action for Georgia students, we don't have enough kids coming out with scores high enough to fill 90% of the slots at Georgia Tech.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, because it says that it's the University System of Georgia and also designated research universities. So does that go beyond just?
It sounds like it does when it says "and," so that would be. I mean, not that anybody is sitting in Los Angeles going, "I hope I get into Kennesaw State," or even worse, Georgia Southern. Like, ooh, can't wait for Georgia Southern to call me back.
Eric's gonna freaking destroy your audio and make you sound. He's gonna warp your words and everything.
You start taking the tape with a razor blade, cutting out words and taping it back together, the stuff I didn't say.
Exactly. Do it, Eric.
He hasn't got time. He's working on 100.
Mm-hmm.
Senator Steve Gooch, SR 538, condemning the impeachment of President Trump.
Not the roll. No one cares.
Senate resolution. Shut up. Now look, Senator Gooch, we have 2 Senate seats up for election this year. If you want to have something to say about national politics, run for one of them, jackass. Otherwise, get on with the state's business or cut your session down to 20 days because you obviously have too much time on your hands. Speaking of too much time on our hands, SR 537, Donzella James, apologize for slavery and Jim Crow.
Excuse me.
You know what's funny about SR 537 and SB 281? One of the last Jim Crow laws on the books is concealed weapons permits.
Interesting.
That was used as a way of keeping guns out of the hands of former slaves. And
she probably doesn't know that.
She doesn't know much. But when you understand the history of it, one of the things that Martin Luther King Jr. Protested was he was denied a concealed carry permit, I believe, in Birmingham, because he wanted to carry for his own protection. So, yeah, you want to talk about Jim Crow? Why don't you back off the guns? Then we could talk about it. And apologize for slavery? I'm sorry. We cool? I didn't do it. My family came over afterwards. We're Irish. I mean, we have to apologize for drinking and fighting, and we got enough to apologize for. I just a waste of time. She obviously has too much time on her hands. And SB 283, Tanya Anderson, make Election Day a state holiday. Yay!
This one is the worst because it's only a state holiday it would only apply to state employees.
The schools already have that day off, I think. At least in the counties where you have kids or you have voting precincts that are in schools. The security is too tough.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
So like in Paulding County, I believe when we have county elections, the schools are closed. Or the schools aren't closed. It's teacher work day. So they go ahead and get one of the teacher work days in because the office obviously has to be open. Security needs to be there. But you can't have, I used to vote at an elementary school. You can't have people just walking in and out of an elementary school on voting day. You made a good point that we already have early voting.
That was my point, was that if we're not going to, if we're going to make a state holiday and get rid of early voting, it's one or the other. Like, how many accommodations do you need to get there?
That I'm willing to work with you on, because early voting is a recipe for fraud.
Absolutely.
Look, someone asked me if I was going to go to the polls in a poll years ago. I said, I would crawl across broken glass to get to the polls. Because there was something I believed I wanted to vote for. How likely are you to vote? Yeah, I would crawl across broken glass. Early voting is first of all, the time that I early voted, by the time the actual primary got here, that person had dropped out of the race. So I was like, I'm not doing that. Now, this is different from absentee. And other times I've early voted, I've voted like if I'm going to be out of town that week for whatever reason. But I could have done an absentee ballot for the same thing. So if you have a legitimate reason for being gone, you have absentee ballots. But you're right. The state holiday only applies to state employees. It would close the schools. It doesn't close the banks. It doesn't close the post office. And most corporations have a lot of accommodations for you. You can come in an hour late to go vote. Plus, the polls open, 7? Mm-hmm. You can leave an hour early. Polls are open till 7 or 8. You could take a long lunch. Most corporations, most companies will make accommodations. It may even be a federal law. Will make accommodations for you to go vote. So you already have that accommodation. All it does is like you say, close the state offices, which means while I'm voting, I can't run up to the tag office. I can't go get my license renewed, while I'm out and about.
Yeah, how do you
voting.
Do anything else?
Right. It's. I think it's a cheap thing. It's not well thought out. It's sort of idealism that I used to say that the Super Bowl Monday should be a federal holiday. Because, we lose so much productivity that, anyway. Or actually, the NFL should move Super Bowl to Saturday. But, it's that idealism, like, if we made it a holiday, everybody could go vote.
No.
Yeah, how many people in your district are working for the state, Tanya?
Yeah, and do we really want more people voting, first of all?
To quote Matthew, I'm all about some voter suppressions.
Lord.
Now, look, it should be tough. It should be just it should take effort. Look, the first time people voted in Iraq, people were getting their fingers lopped off. They stood in line for hours and they marked themselves with ink to show that they voted. They put their lives at risk to go vote. And we seem to think that all we're missing is an opportunity. People have got plenty of opportunity. They don't care. And low voter turnout doesn't hurt my feelings. The people that are more involved and feel more passionately tend to show up and vote. The people who are more informed on either way of the issue show up and vote. And everybody has this idea that why is voter turnout only 16%? Well, Because those are the 16% that know what the hell's going on. This is not like an NCAA pool where you just, you're selecting teams based on their colors because that's the colors you like. You're selecting names because you don't really know what's going on. You vote straight ballot because, well, Daddy was a Republican, so I'm a Republican. I'm just going to vote straight ballot because I don't really know any of these people, which is how you end up with Jim Beck.
Well, yes.
This show will be dropping on the first day of session. Aren't you happy, Jessica?
No.
I want everybody to look at their podcast and say, bye, happy Jessica.
That's right. Well, we'll probably get like one or two more.
Yeah, no, we'll get one more. 100 will be happy Jessica.
Yes, and we'll have one kind of like, they ease in and then all of a sudden it's like.
All of a sudden it's changeover day and they're running around like kindergartners let off a bus at a field trip. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. Anybody should really go down there, go to the Capitol. You have to take your gun off, unfortunately, and sit up in the gallery and just watch. And go during a day that's not really heavy because you can watch them click up. And it's like watching a high school cafeteria. And you can watch them get in their cliques and move around and interact with each other because you do have a bird's eye view of what's going on from a distance. And it is interesting to see the social dynamic within the Capitol. Which is why I also think that they don't allow cameras.
Possibly.
Because you don't want to see your rep during the prayer looking around and ignoring what's going on during the prayer. But she's no longer here. The predecessor in HD 19. Anyway. You miss her, don't you?
I miss being able to use photos of her for articles.
Yeah, and I shouldn't pick on her. She's a private citizen now.
Yeah, but you can pick on her legislative career in which she was terrible.
That's true. Do you have any closing thoughts on that?
No, that's it.
Here's my old man rant.
Also, I got one.
Oh.
Don't forget that Casey Cagle lost 157 out of 159 counties in Georgia.
Way to wrap up our first 99 shows.
There you go.
My old man rant. Streaming services. How many do I have to have? Now, just because of Facebook, I got to see The Mandalorian. There's literally nothing else on Disney I want to watch besides I want to see what the hell this Baby Yoda's about. And now CBS has got a streaming service that I can watch Star Trek, and I'm a nerd. So I'm going to buy that streaming service. I already got Amazon. I already got Netflix. So I've got to buy 15 streaming services on top of the 200 channels I have on satellite. Why can't I just buy The Mandalorian and watch it? I mean, I'm willing to pay a little bit just to watch that one show. I don't care about the Disney princesses. I don't want to watch the rest of that crap. It's a scam. It's sort of like joining the gym on the 1st of January. They hope you don't come. They just want that money every month. So with that, I'm going to go eat some Metamucil. So for Jessica Szilagyi, I'm Old Man Dave Roberts. Have a great week. See you on 100.